Hey, welcome back to the Club Junkie Podcast. Hopefully you guys are having a great week. It is another Thursday, and we're back. We're at it. It's, January. It's cold here in Detroit, but I got out. I've been hitting some balls. A lot of new product. I got so much more to hit. I did my Q&A today. We'll talk about it in a second, but before we get to all that, I just want to let you know this episode is brought to you by Titleist and the Vokey Design SM10 wedges. Nothing can do more to sharpen your short game than a fresh set of grooves, especially if those grooves are spin milled into a new Vokey Design SM10 wedge. Bob Vokey and his team are always grinding, and their work shows in SM10, already a favorite amongst the best players in the world. SM10 was designed around the three keys to great wedge play: shot versatility, distance and trajectory control, and maximum spin. Top players around the world love the look and feel of Vokey wedges. The SM10 lineup includes a new tee grind, a low bounce option that encourages real artistry around the greens. So score some fresh grooves with Vokey SM10 and see how sharp your short game can be. Find the nearest Vokey fitter or use the online wedge selector tool to unlock the right SM10s for you at Vokey.com. So hopefully you guys have had a good one. It is, been like freezing cold up here. It's been like in the 20s. But it's been awesome. There's been so many great launches. We just saw from last week, we've seen, TaylorMade stuff has been out, Ping stuff's been out, Strixon's been out, just tons. It's been kind of crazy. A couple new Cameron models. We've seen a lot of stuff, which is pretty wild. A ton of stuff out on tour. It's crazy to see. We got Cobra Mini Driver, the Deuce. If you haven't seen it yet, go to golfthebeerx.com or go to Club Junkie on Instagram. I put it up there as well. Seeing just a ton of stuff out there, which is really awesome. And did my Q&A on Instagram, again, at Club Junkie Pod today. Thank you, everyone, for all the questions that you put in. I try to answer all of them. I think at the very end, I usually, cut it off and say thank you, but a few still, linger in there. But I try to get as many done as I can. But you guys had so many questions on all the new gear and if I'd hit, this compared to that. And yes, I have not hit the new Ping G440 stuff. Need to finish that up. But I mean, it's like there's so much new gear and trying to hit it all is really, really tough. So today I was out hitting balls. I was out at the Kingdom back in December and got to hit the Qi35 stuff then. Did a little driver fitting and then went out and hit them again today at an indoor place that was TrackMan powered. So hit it on TrackMan indoors, unfortunately, but did that. I also had new Mizuno irons in the wedge, irons in the bag. I had the new 925 JPX forged, the new forged model, and I had the S3s. So I definitely will do probably a show pretty soon coming up on those. But super impressed with both those irons, and I do have to say that S3. I mean, we'll talk about it more, but I need to get my game right. I need to get my game down where I can play that iron because it's pretty nice. But anyway, was hitting a ton of balls indoors. It was fun. Got to see my buddy John there. Rolled in. I kind of last minute went up, just called off to see if they had a time. They did. Rolled up, went in there, hit a bunch of balls. And as I was kind of getting it set it up, my buddy John was walking out. So he had the same idea I did. And it was pretty cool. So, but yeah, I've been hitting more stuff, and I definitely will continue to do so. I know next week's going to throw a little wrench in the gears of the PGA show. I will be down there for the PGA show this week or this year. I will be going down. I fly out Sunday night. Then Monday we might play some golf. Some of the boys from Golf the Beer X, some of us are my coworkers. We may play a little golf, and then it's on. Tuesday starts the demo day, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are inside the convention center. So I will be there Tuesday at demo day, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I'm out Friday morning. I'm out of there early. So going to do a ton, get a bunch done. I'm going to be tired, but it'll be a good week. So if you're down there and you see me, say hi. I'll try to have a few stickers or something on me to give away if you do see me. But hopefully to see some folks, say hi. And it's going to be wild though, so who knows? We're just running, back and forth between booths or doing whatever you're doing. So I totally get it if we don't cross paths. But hopefully if you're going down to the show, have a great show next week. I think my show next week it'll probably be from our Airbnb. Every year that's pretty much what I've done is from our Airbnb. Did a show there on like Wednesday night and kind of do a little recap of what I've seen and all that. So I'll probably do something similar because there'll probably be a lot to see. So I know there's a lot of stuff in the forums, Golf WX forums, of people asking for stuff. So we'll see what we can do. But while you're really here, you only care about one thing. It's not the PGA show, I'm pretty sure, at least not yet. But today, we're going to talk about TaylorMade Qi35 drivers. Yes, the Qi35s. they're here, and I think they look pretty cool. They're in all their kind of carbon glory. I think they did a nice job with the looks of these things. And yes, I know a lot of people every year it's asked, like, is it going to be another carbon face? It is, and the carbon face is back. I don't think it's going anywhere, folks. I think this is going to be around to stay for a little while. But overall, I think they look really good. I'll call it 3 models. There's really 4. There's 4 models. So you have to start off, the one that you've seen on tour that most guys have been playing. You'll see the LS model, and they moved the sliding weight track is gone. 3 movable weights, 1 in the back, 2 up front. Smallest profile looking, but it's still 460 cc's, but it's got the more traditional kind of pear shape that TaylorMade is known for. It's got that look to it that most TaylorMade drivers have had for a long time. But it's the most compact looking, lowest spinning, most adjustable, all that. So again, the one you've probably seen on tour the most for most of the players. And then you move into the, as we call it, core. We called it with Qi10 core, the core model Qi35, which is the standard one. And this one here, same thing, but we do get some adjustability in terms of a little bit of spin and launch. You got a heavyweight in the back, lightweight up front, and you can swap those. So if you want to change the ball flight, spin rate and stuff a little bit there, again, same thing, kind of this silver carbon fiber there on both the top and bottom, and then 60-layer carbon face, but it's done in all black. So it looks really good, really sleek. I like the look of it, but that's the core model, kind of blend of distance forgiveness, spin control. And then you run into the Max head, so the 10K Max head. They even put a little on there, the little equation or whatever, the 10K. But then you have the 10K version here, and this one here has kind of got the biggest profile looking. Now the core model kind of took a lot of the shape here. The shape on the Max, even the Qi10 was a little bit more rounded. This one here, definitely more rounded, and the Qi10 takes kind of the same cue. So it's got a little more rounded, bigger footprint on there, and basically why they did it with both is basically to increase forgiveness. They basically looked at the Qi10, so we want to make it more forgiving. Took some cues from the Max, made it kind of a similar a similar footprint, and yeah, it's got a little different look to it this year than last year. And this one, no movable weights. It's got a little weight in the back, kind of like Qi10 and all those did. Somebody will probably make replacements for these, but at the moment, those are not replaceable from TaylorMade. They're not going to sell you one. But same thing. The Qi10 and the Qi10 or Qi35 Max do have little kind of black rings around the outside, where the standard or the LS does not. The LS got a little cleaner look to it, but overall, really good looking line. It's got this green to it, but really the green is pretty subtle. You know, it's not really. I mean, there's like a couple little triangles on the bottom, and that's it. I think the black the black chrome on there looks really good as well. Overall, I think TaylorMade did a nice job with the looks. I think they look really good. I think each model kind of has its own kind of unique look to it in ways. And overall, I think people will be happy with the looks of them. Then there's also a Max Light version that is available. I don't have that one here because it's super lightweight, all that, and it's just, I guess, not for I guess me in a sense. But I've got the 3 kind of core models that people are mostly going to be hitting this year. And yeah, I've been hitting them. Like I said, I hit them out of the Kingdom, hit them here, and it was nice. So when I did my fitting out in the Kingdom, I kind of, was hitting all 3, kind of just to hit all 3 and also do a little fitting, find out which one fits me the best. And much like I found over the past kind of couple of years as 10K models have come out, I don't hit the 10K models that great. And that was kind of the case again during my fitting. We had the 10K on it, and I love the idea of the 10K. I love being super, super stable, super forgiving, and super straight. And when I hit it well, it's all those things. But I just, for whatever reason, I don't hit them super well. And I don't know if it's something with that bigger, flatter kind of profile that CG moves away from the shaft, and I just don't rotate it closed as much or as quickly, or what. But I don't hit the 10K models well. So I hit everything there. The 10K went pretty well when I hit it there, but it didn't beat anything out. And then we moved on to the standard core model, the Qi35 core model. And this actually went a little bit better. I played a lot of the core model last year. It got a little spinny at times because especially as I kind of tried to change a few things in the swing near the end of the year. And when those changes kind of went into place and did have them, my miss turned from high toe kind of low heel, and that low heel shot was kind of having a lot of spin to it. So at first, the QI10 worked really well because I'd hit it off the toe, it would hold on to a lot of spin, and I'd be all right. And the standard model, but then as the year went on, kind of didn't quite work as well because I wasn't, my miss was a little bit low heel, and I was kind of generating a ton of spin, so not quite what I wanted there. And then, moved into the LS. But in terms of the fitting, kind of went the same way. Went through, hit all three, and then kind of found that it was kind of between Qi35, Qi35 LS, and then we found the LS. And the LS there was kind of the best one, and we put in a Fujikura Ventus Black in there, which was really interesting because we were using their fitting software, which goes basically on closure rate, is what they kind of go by, and the tip stiffness of shafts and closure rate. That's kind of where how they fit these things. They've kind of profiled all these shafts, and the Ventus Black and this 10.5 LS head worked really well. The big thing was I went from hitting the center an okay amount of the time on all the drivers to just absolutely dead center on a ton of shots. So my percentage of center shots went up greatly when we finally got that dialed in. And on there, yeah, I mean, I was seeing some carry numbers, some ball speed numbers that I have not seen in a whole long time. But I was out there, I want to say, like, one of the best shots. I mean, I had 258 carry at the Kingdom, which if you can give me 258 carry, I will take that all day, because that is a great shot for me. We went through that fitting, and yeah, it was pretty interesting. We messed around a lot with the weights on both the Qi35 and the 35 LS. The LS was pretty interesting because for me, the fit ended up being weight in the back, because I want that little added forgiveness. I'm higher spinning now with a little bit of swing change, but I'm not like crazy high spin, so I didn't need to move that weight forward too much, but we kind of moved it in all three places. Back ended up being the best. It was interesting though, because we were kind of talking, and the Qi35 LS is a little bit more playable, especially with that heavyweight back. You get a little bit more spin, you get a little bit more forgiveness. More players are going to fit into that than the Qi10 LS, which was just ultra low spin. It was just crazy low spin, and if you basically had to work around that. There was really no options. But the new LS, definitely more playable, more forgiving. So you can move the heavyweight up into the toe, and they kind of call that, they nicknamed it a little bit of beast mode, because it is so low spinning, and it promotes a little bit more fade with the head. And we moved it in there, hit it, and it was just different. Like the club just swung differently. And I did not need the beast mode. One, I didn't need the spin reduction, so when I hit it well, the spin numbers were just too low. And then two, I just wasn't hitting the center. Once we moved that thing up there, it was one of those things where it just wasn't the spot for me, and I couldn't explain it to the guy who's fitting me. But it was just like, I think it just doesn't feel right. Something about it doesn't feel right. It just feels weird. And then we moved it back, the heavyweight back to the back, and it was like an old friend again. So definitely was a pretty cool experience to use their system. I think there's definitely something to it. I know a few people have asked me about, that kind of, face closure rate and fitting with that, and tip stiffness and all that. Honestly, I need to get myself a Ventus Black 6S, 6 stiff, and try it out, because honestly, I hit it really well there, and definitely want to take that combo out to the course. And I'm not usually a Ventus Black guy, so I'm definitely going to try that out, and we'll see how it goes. But on the range, it was one of those things where, I mean, hopefully a lot of you have gone to fittings, and you've done fittings, whether it's irons, fairways, drivers, whatever it is. And there's usually a moment there as you're kind of hitting combos and you start getting close, that you find the combo, and it's just like this light bulb. It's just like you pull the string, and it's like boom, and it's like you hit the first shot, and you're going, oh, that was different. That's really good. And then you hit the next one, and it's really good again, and you're like, oh, okay, I think we found it. It was kind of that way, and it was that way right with the LS, and it's a cool feeling when you kind of look at your fitter and you both know it, because they're looking at the numbers, they see the shot as it goes down range, and then they're just like, ooh. And you're like, yeah, I think that's good. And you hit another one. You're like, oh, yeah, it's good. And then it's just like, yes, that's the spot. So that was what. So my fit was, was the Qi35 LS, heavyweight back, 10.5 head, set standard on the hosel. And we went with the Fujikura Ventus Black 6 stiff. So I need to get myself a stiff. I have the X up there. I need the stiff. And of course, when I went and hit balls, I didn't bring that one with me. But not a big deal. I basically brought all three of these. brought, and I brought a couple shafts, but the shaft I used for all three of those, three of these was the Graphite Design 2RAD GC that I have. I use that for all three heads, so I kind of hit them all side by side, and yeah, it was just kind of hitting on TrackMan there. And I'll tell you what, it was hitting the ball okay. Wasn't too bad. I mean, I haven't swung a club since December when I went out to TaylorMade and a couple other OEMs. So the first few swings were definitely a little bit rusty, but after that, I felt fairly decent and hit some good shots. So we'll start with kind of my least favorite, or we'll say out of the three, 1, 2, 3. We'll start with 3, which is the Qi35 Max, the 10K head. And from a look standpoint, I think it looks really good. It is just a hair shut compared to the other two models. When you set it down, just from a straight look standpoint, it's 10.5 head. These are all three. These are 10.5 heads. And when you set this one down, I set them all just in standard using my all fit. So they're all just all fit. It is just a hair closed. And Qi10 Max was the same way. Just a hair shut there with the Max head. But, you could always kind of go up and, set the head with lower loft and kind of take some of that away. But the Max, other than that, looks really good. I mean, like I said, it's just a hair shut. It's not bad, and it doesn't really bother me. Once kind of the first swing and you hit it and whatever, you're fine, and you don't notice really a whole lot of that closure. At least I don't. Once I start hitting stuff, it doesn't bother me too badly. But the Max, I do have to say, they tout it as extremely stable. You hit it off the toe, hit it off the heel, and it's got the most stability. It doesn't want to twist, open, or close, or anything like that. And it really doesn't. I mean, I do have to say, in terms of dispersion and the straightness of shots, this thing was really good. Now, for me, I was erratic in terms of finding the face. When I did catch it center, I had some really good drives. When I, kind of hit it low heel, definitely saw some spin numbers higher than the other three. And overall, spin numbers pretty high. When you hit it dead flush, it could kind of hang with the Qi35 core for a little bit there. It wasn't that far different. Maybe 100 RPMs or something like that there. But the big thing I noticed with this one was misses. And like I said, my miss lately has been kind of low heel, low in the face. Just kind of anywhere kind of dead center to heel, low is kind of my miss if I don't hit it solid. And some of those shots, definitely saw some stuff jump above the 3,000 number. Stuff that was solid was really kind of around the mid, 2,500s. Spin consistency, not too bad. But definitely the spinniest head out of the three. Now, in terms of ball flight, the ball just goes straight. Like you may hit it right, you may hit it a little bit left, whatever. You may hit it straight. It's just the ball doesn't have a ton of curve to it. And today, a lot of my miss today was just kind of just right at target. And the ball just went straight there. It was just straight right. I hit a few kind of low draws, but nothing too crazy. That's the miss that I had for the past couple of years. And when I was at the Kingdom, my miss was kind of just left to target, just left to target, or I'd hit like just a touch of a fade. Didn't have much of the fade going today, but just right at target was kind of a little bit of the miss if I didn't hit it pretty straight. But even those misses were like, pretty much in play. I mean, you look down the range on TrackMan, and I was like just missing the fairway, which I know is super wide. But this thing here, definitely a little bit higher launching, definitely a little bit spinnier than the other three heads. But I think for a lot of people who want the forgiveness, that may fit in really well with them. You could always go down and loft and things like that. There's little tricks you could do to make this thing spin just a little bit less. But it did kind of launch the highest, spin the most, but the ball flight was just really straight. Definitely the least amount of curvature, but the highest launch as well. Like this one launched on average after all the shots at 12.7. Which it was about 1.5 degrees, 1.6 degrees higher than the next closest, which was Qi35. So definitely something that it helps get the ball in the air. It does have a little bit spin. Like spin on this one, the average was 27.90. But like I said, dead center shots, a little bit lower than that, mid twos. But stuff when I started getting low in the face and lower on the heel, definitely saw some stuff like right around that number or a little bit higher. It was the only one that I saw. I might have saw like one shot with the 35 that got to 3,000, but this one saw a couple on a few misses. Not horrible, but it was just like 30, 50, 30. I don't think any of them hit 3,100 with this, but there were a couple in the threes when that thing went off to the right that had some spin on that lower heel shot. Ball speed was pretty solid though. I mean, my ball speed on average was 149.7. With a smash factor like 145 on average, which is pretty good. I mean, like I said, everything here was like 145, 145, 146. I mean, for me, that's phenomenal. But I saw a handful of 149s with the other two drivers. I didn't quite see as many with this one. But Qi35, this one I hit the highest out of everything. Like I said, launched at 12.7. My carry on average for this one was 242, and 2790 was the spin number. So again, the biggest thing with this was that when you did miss it, how straight that ball was. And if you're somebody who's just looking for straight ball flight, easy to hit, this thing's going to offer it to you. And honestly, like I think a lot of people out there, you know, if you go get fit, whatever, you can probably get around, you know, that little bit of spin or whatever that's there, whether you go down and loft in the head or anything like that. I know with my Qi10, I actually had a 9-degree head for the Max. This one I wanted the 10.5 just to kind of match it up and be able to kind of hit them side by side. But this 10.5, like I said, launched a little bit higher, had a little bit of spin, but just offered really straight ball flight. The misses, I know everybody, you know, not everybody, but I know a lot of people complain like, oh, the carbon face. I think the carbon face feels really good. And I think, honestly, the ball speed on the misses, which I know they don't talk about there's been big changes on the face, but the face definitely feels like it holds more ball speed on those misses because that number didn't fluctuate as much as I thought it did with Qi10. Now, it didn't hit them, you know, right side by side. Wasn't bringing 6 drivers into the range, but I think the ball speed on the miss hits on the face on all 3 of these drivers is actually pretty solid. So this one here, really good. I think sound and feel, the funny thing is, sound and feel of this, I think is a little bit different. I think this and Qi35, the Max and the 35, pretty similar, pretty muted feel, kind of a crack sound. And then the LS I felt was like even more muted. It was like really quiet. So definitely maybe just a touch more muted, a little more low pitched this compared to Qi10. I'd have to hit them side by side again. But even though inside a kind of an enclosed bay, all that, really honestly, you know, not offensive. There were some guys hitting some other drivers down there. I don't know what people were hitting, but there was some loud stuff going on. This thing definitely more muted compared to everything else. And I didn't even have my headphones in. But Max is really good for going straight. If you want to reduce that, the amount of hook, slice, all that, just the movement in general, this thing's definitely the way to go. If you hit it high, you may have to kind of mess with the loft a little bit and kind of go down and loft or something like that, or mess with it or kind of go a shaft. But this thing here, if you're looking for ultimate straight, the Max is really good. And honestly, I think, you know, I think it's definitely a little less spinny than last year because, like I said, I bet numbers-wise with that 9-degree and this 10.5, I bet the numbers of the 10.5 are still better with this Qi35. But yeah, with a 10K driver, it's still easy to get in the air, go straight, goes far, has a little bit of spin. But I think the people who, you know, are going to play that driver, a lot of them, I think that's going to be okay. I think that's what's going to help them kind of hit it longer, further, and straighter. So then we move into the core model, the Qi35, the standard one, the core as we called it. I know we called the Qi10 the core, and TaylorMade was kind of like, it's not really the core. It just kind of stuck. And this one, the same thing. Again, the look a little different this year than last year. Last year, we had a little bit more of the kind of the pear shape, the teardrop shape, if you want to call it. There was a little more angle down near the heel. This one's kind of got like the full roundness like the Max head. And basically, like I said earlier, the TaylorMade did that to increase forgiveness, increase stability on this head. Same thing, ton of carbon, but you do get the now movable weight. So heavy weight in the back. You can move it to the front. So it's a 3 and a 13 gram. You can flop them, change things up a little bit. I didn't mess with them. I left the heavy weight in the back because that's probably what I would do. After hitting a few balls now, maybe I would mess with it to do it. I may mess with it going forward. I just didn't have the time to kind of mess with the weights fully. So I will probably do that as the season goes on and move those forward because this thing was really good. I think it was definitely a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. I was so excited for the LS that I kind of forgot how solid this one is. But yeah, the 35 definitely had a little bit more movement compared to the Max. Hitting shots, like the first shot I hit, I kind of came over the top, hit it left, kind of smothered a little bit, low and left. Not a ton of spin, but just kind of there. And then just the amount of curvature difference between that and the Max was noticeable. And when you look at kind of the bird's eye view of shots, some of the misses on this were definitely a little bit more right and left. Now, launch comes out a little bit flatter and definitely spin-wise a little bit less. Dead center shots on this were I averaged 26.32, but again, hitting it a little lower on the heel. You saw a little bit higher number there, like 2,800 was kind of where the Max was with this when I hit it low heel and it kind of got up in the air. It was around maybe 2,800. I think I saw one ball that hit the threes, that hit 3,000. But for the most part, everything was under that, 28. And then when you struck it really, really solid, it was more like 2,400 RPM. So 26.32 was kind of my average overall for, all the shots with this. And honestly, I think it, like I said, the good shots were lower than that. I think that number's a little, a little bit skewed in a way. But I think they always are. If you just took the good shots, it would be, different. I don't delete anything unless it's just absolutely horrible. Then maybe I'll delete it. But even that, if it's a shot that I would hit on the course, I just leave it on there. So, but yeah, 26.32 is my average there. So about 150 RPM, 160 RPM less than the core. I think if you look at dead center shot to dead center to dead center, it's probably for me closer to 250 or 300 if you just took those shots and looked at them. But the misses definitely were a little bit better with this in terms of being lower spin, and they definitely carried a little bit further. Now the Max went a little straighter on those misses, like it didn't have as much curvature to the left or the right, but this thing went a little bit further and had a little bit more carry with those miss hits that didn't go just dead straight. So launch on this one came out a little bit flatter. It honestly was a little bit flatter than I hit it out of the Kingdom. Through the Kingdom, I felt like I hit this thing a little bit higher. Launch on this one was 11.1, which the apex was 10 feet shorter at 73 feet. So a little bit shorter there compared to the Max, but launched a little lower. When I was out of the Kingdom, I felt like this and the Max were a little bit closer in terms of window. I know it's only like 1.5 degrees, but when I was hitting them both side by side out there, I felt like it was just a little bit closer in terms of that window. Ball speed was a little bit faster. I was a little bit more consistent in terms of hitting the center on this at 151.1 as an average. And again, I think with me hitting all the 10K heads that I've hit, I've never felt like I've really hit a lot of center shots with 10K heads. I seem to be a little bit all over the face. With this one here, I definitely hit more shots on the center. And then I averaged overall a few yards longer than that at 244. There were a few kind of low lefts that didn't quite have a ton of carry that brought that number down. I feel like it could have been a little bit higher, but overall, and then like a smash of 145. So overall, this thing was really good. I think in terms of a core model, I think it's better than Qi10 only because I think it spins a little bit less on those misses. Those low heel misses, I think, spin a little less. Into the wind, I think it's going to be a little bit more penetrating, but I think it launched a little bit lower. I think it spins a little bit less while still giving you the same amount of forgiveness as Qi10 did, if not even a little bit more. But I think this thing's going to fit a wider range of golfers. And then you throw in the two movable weights where you could take that heavy weight, throw it in the front, bring that spin number down even a little bit more. I'm definitely going to be swapping that weight out just to see the difference the next time I go, and I'll bring this. But overall, I'm really happy with this now. I like it, I think, better than that Qi10. I really want to put a couple of the shafts in it to basically make that claim. But forgiveness is really solid. I think it's really forgiving driver. I think all around does a good thing of, limiting some spin, being very straight, good sound and feel, a little bit more, like I said, just a slight bit louder than LS, but really, really solid. So, like I said, launched about a degree, excuse me, launched about 1.5 degrees, lower than Max, spun about, on my average one, about 150 RPM. Again, I think that's a little bit more in real world if you take some shots. But overall, I think really good ball speed, really good dispersion, all that on this Qi35 Max. So, impressed with that one a lot. Like I said, that's definitely going to get some time. The Max, for me, is probably not going to get as much time later on, but we'll see. Who knows? As the year goes on and the swing changes, we may find the Max is starting, so who knows? And then my favorite of the bunch was the Qi35 LS. And this thing, just when hitting it, I think that smaller kind of compact shape, that compact look to it, just gives a little bit of confidence, but it also makes it where, I don't know, I just hit it really well. And I think that confidence carrying over from when I was at the Kingdom and getting fit for it and knowing what it does there was really, really solid. Now, this one here definitely left the heavy weight in the back, didn't move that forward or anything like that. We moved it around, messed around with it. It does make a difference. It will change kind of the flight characteristics of the driver when you do move it around, but I left it totally in the back. Now this one there came out the lowest, but I hit kind of the first few, because this is the first one I've hit out of all three. Hit a few low and left that I didn't hit with the other ones there. So launch came out at 10.6. I think it's closer to the Qi35, the standard model, if you were to take a couple of those kind of low left ones out of there. But they are what they are. I leave them in, like I said, unless they're really horrible. I do have to say the one thing on this one that I didn't notice on the other two as much, or I noticed it on here a lot, Qi35 a little bit, didn't notice it much in the Max. Again, the carbon face, when you struck it dead center, it really kind of has a little bit of softness to it, and you can kind of feel that ball compress, right? I don't feel like you really had that on like Stealth 2 and Qi10 and, you know, some of the other carbon faces. I feel like this one here, you get a little bit more responsiveness. And again, I think the ball speed on the miss hits, even on this kind of more compact looking head, are really, really good. So yeah, launch of 10.6, so the flattest of the bunch, equaling, you know, an apex of 68 on average. So definitely flatter, definitely coming out with lower spin. Now, spin-wise on this, that was like the big thing. So I averaged 2350 on this thing. Yeah, I'm going to say I'm trying to look at my own writing. 2350 on this thing. But I do have to say the big thing is that miss, that low heel miss. Never saw one get above, I think, 2,800, like high 28s. I don't think I hit one. I don't think I saw one hit the 2,900. But that low heel miss definitely kept spin in check. Definitely carried the furthest out of these three drivers, and that was and honestly, the dispersion part of it, because when you miss it there, you know, it usually kind of goes off to the right. It wasn't. I mean, honestly, it wasn't any worse than the standard Qi35. It wasn't as straight as Max. But honestly, the forgiveness of this thing definitely vastly improved over Qi10. Much more playable in terms of the spin. I think you can, you know, move that weight back and add some spin, and guys like me can play it, and because it adds forgiveness as well. But I think that's the other thing, added forgiveness, where players like me who, you know, could use this because my miss is a high spin miss. I think it fits really well, and I think it helps out in those situations. So. 153.2 is the ball speed average on this one, or 150. I'm sorry, yeah, 153.2, and that's because I literally felt like I was hitting the face quite frequently on this one. So this one had the highest smash as well at 146, but I just felt like I could easily hit the face with this one. Just it felt easy, it felt consistent, and yeah, 22 or 2350 for the spin, 153.2, launch at 10.6. It had the flattest apex, but again had a few, and then the carry averaged out to be 247. So. Again, I think the average carry could be a little bit further with this thing, but it doesn't have, or I hit a few that were kind of low left, didn't have a ton of carry. But again, having more playability, being able to get away with some shots that I feel like I wouldn't have got away with Qi10 LS is really big. And this thing is really solid. The sound of it's, you know, like I said, more muted than the other two. It's got a nice kind of low crack to it, kind of almost a thud, but really, really good ball speed on miss hits. Never really hit a ball that I looked and said, like, oh, that ball speed really dropped. Like, I must have really missed it somewhere. But everything on here, when you hit it dead center, it goes like crazy. It feels really good. Saw multiple 1.49 smashes and stuff like that when I caught it close to center. And when you don't, you can still carry a good amount of ball speed. So out of these, even with a shaft that I wasn't necessarily fit into, just tossing it in, definitely the LS to me felt like the best one in terms of dispersion, in terms of distance, and the ease of squaring it up and hitting it straight. Definitely the LS for me felt the best. So out of the three, I think the LS is still the leader. Like I said, the standard Qi35 is definitely going to get some time because I think there's a forgiveness factor there that I think is definitely worth playing. But all three drivers, I think, really, really good. I think TaylorMade did a nice job doing some refinements, doing some, upgrades over Qi10. I think everything's got some added forgiveness. I think everything's got a little bit more playability to it, and I think everything other than the Max, a little bit more adjustable. You know, the Qi10 standard model, you didn't have any adjustments. There was no movable weights. You just, you had the hosel, that was it. Now you have two movable weights. You can kind of dial that in if you got a higher speed player or not, or a higher, spin player or something like that. You'll have the ability to kind of change those. So I think they did a really nice job. I'm really impressed. I'm really liking the TaylorMade stuff. I know TaylorMade last year, I played a lot of fairway woods. I felt like the driver I didn't kind of put in play as much. I played a lot of the other brands just because, I felt like they went a little better. I think TaylorMade's right back in it this year. And for right now, I'm a big fan of all three, really. I mean, a big fan of the LS, big fan of the other two as well. But I think the LS and the Max, you're going to see me when I start doing my videos for What's in the Bag on the main Golf WRX channel. I think you're going to see those two heads quite frequently. So they'll be in there getting some play. But overall, really impressed. I think if you're looking for, a little bit of forgiveness, a little bit of playability, a little bit more adjustability, I think the Qi35 has something for you in one of the three heads. I mean, one of the foreheads if you want to throw in the Max Light. So something, yeah, really, really nice. I think they did a great job with these. I like the look. I know look's subjective, and so is sound and feel. I like the sound and feel. I like the look. I think they did a really nice job. So that is my review of the Qi35s. I think TaylorMade is onto something. I think they're kind of back. I feel like last year might have been a little down for them, and this year definitely back when it comes to drivers. So excited for the woods too. I've got the fairway woods. I'll be taking those out soon, and I've got the rescues, but all look really, really good. I even got a 2 or 7 wood, so that one will be pretty interesting to see how that goes. So anyway, got these things down. That is a Qi35. So that is the show for this week. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Hopefully you're somewhere you can play some golf. I'm jealous if you can because I cannot. And yeah, again, we'll see you down to the show. That'd be great as well. You guys have a good, safe weekend. We'll talk next week. I don't know if I'll be able to do Q&A next week at the PGA show. We'll see how the days go, but I think that one may be a little struggle, maybe tough to do. So anyway, you guys have a great weekend. Thanks again. Please follow me on Instagram, Club Junkie Pod, wherever you're listening to the podcast. Like, subscribe, follow, whatever it is. I know it's so stupid that I have to ask this, but I mean, it's just one of those things. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, yes, I do put this on YouTube, and I just put heads in front of the camera. Definitely, like, subscribe as well. You can follow that. You can find that on Golf the America Radio, or if you search Club Junkie, should come up. Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys. Have a good weekend. We'll talk next week.